Today is a sad day, and this is going to be a sad segment, full disclosure, as we're going to have to get very real, and we're going to have to talk about a bit of a reality of being a progressive content creator that doesn't really get talked about much because complaining about your station and your reach as a creator online, especially on YouTube, is seen as very presumptuous, very, ungrateful, demanding, insincere. Like, I could go on for like an hour listing the ways that people kind of feel and react to that discussion. But when it comes to the online left, I think most people who are part of it watch content from creators that push progressive ideology. It's not as simple as just content to them, or to most of you guys, right? I think a lot of it is also the success of progressive content online in the same way that success for conservative content online more or less directly translates to influence and reach in changing people's politics. And so growing the online left and growing creators within the online left is the prerogative of the left as a whole, or it should be. And I've talked about this a lot. Talked about how, I really appreciate every bit of support you guys send my way, how much it means to me, and how much it truly helps. And I've seen comments from people that kind of assume I'm rich or well off. More common back in the day, but less so now, but still, it happens from time to time. And I find that very interesting. I feel like there's a highly inflated perception of how stable the online left is as a viable community right now. Especially ever since Trump won. And we're going to be segueing into the main point of this in a second, but I'm giving some setup. Since Trump won, there has been a noticeable decline in viewership, sub growth, and right after Trump won, there was a big trend where hundreds of thousands of progressive content watchers on YouTube, as a form of protest, got together and mass unsubbed from progressive channels they watch. I lost a couple thousand. I know that Brian Taylor Cohen lost 40,000, 60,000 subs before it let up. And it's been pretty slow for all these channels ever since, for the most part, compared to before Trump won. This is showing a clear sign of a demotivation within the online left. And as much as that might not have an impact on voter numbers, sure, those people are still going to go out and vote. I'm sure they're still protesting, engaging in direct action, and all those good things that you should be doing. It is still a tragedy, I think. I don't think they're doing anything wrong. They don't have to watch progressive content, but I think it's a tragedy that we're losing that online community that you could argue brought the right its victory, the biggest victory politically they've had in ages with this election. And so, with all that said, we've seen a lot of progressive content creators lately that many of you guys probably think of as household names having to take hiatuses or outright quitting YouTube because, frankly, being a progressive content creator is not worth it for the most part. It takes a lot of hard, diligent work to make it viable. You guys ever see how often I upload and how often I stream? I have to, bro. Yeah, Shark300, I believe no longer makes content based on what people in chat were saying, which fucking hell, that sucks balls because Shark is great. Surus took a hiatus but is back, I believe, though I highly recommend you guys go send support Surus's way because I know for a fact Surus is not at the level of comfort that he can forgo shoutouts and recommendations for more support going his way. So, go drop some support. I can tell you for sure that while I get by, I just barely get by. I'm probably not in a better financial situation than many of you are. So you may be surprised to find out, while yes, the listed YouTubers are not exactly massive creators. I'm not huge, Shark's not necessarily huge, and Surus isn't huge. A creator you might consider borderline huge is one with over 500,000 subscribers who has made one of the most beloved series in online lefty content history. That being Inuendo Studios, who made the alt-right playbook series. You know those cute little animated videos that explain the tactics of the right and radicalization in the alt-right that I've been covering lately? he just put out a video called "Being a YouTuber Bankrupted Me," in which he announces that he will be taking an indefinite hiatus from YouTube. Basically meaning he may never come back. But he might one day, but don't expect it. And it's simply because he can't afford to do YouTube full-time anymore. And as much as it may seem like, oh, well, you can just do a full or part-time job and do YouTube on the side, right? The creative process of YouTube, especially with how brutal the algorithm is, requires a surprising amount of time and energy dedicated to thinking about what you can make that will do well on the platform, and frankly trying to learn how the platform works, because it's always ever changing. It's never static. You can never know the algorithm and then just be content. You have to be non-stop dedicating your time to learning about it. And there's a million other things that come with content creation that go along with it. And, you know, he's the guy who makes those well-made, scripted, well-edited, animated videos. He has to put a lot of work in, and he makes infrequent uploads, meaning he relies, I should say, on a very high level of engagement from his audience that does watch his videos, because he uploads infrequently, because it's a lot of work put into very high quality videos. And on top of that, he relies heavily on financial support from his followers in the form of his Patreon, because he can't entirely rely on YouTube ad revenue, which essentially rewards you directly in correlation to how often you upload. The more you upload, the more likely YouTube is to financially treat you well. But even then, you can't guarantee you're going to do well. Regardless, though, he relies heavily on Patreon and just the support of his fans to make ends meet. And, you know, he's an older guy. He's got, like, a financial history that came before YouTube. He's got debts and stuff. And, you know, people's financial burden is different on a case-by-case basis. I think with the amount of money he makes, I'd probably be fine for the rest of my life. But in his case, it's not enough for him to make it even. And so one of the best progressive content creators out there, someone with over 500,000 subscribers for financial reasons, is quitting YouTube. I've talked a lot lately about how desperately we need progressive content viewers to lock the fuck in and make it a cultural point of defiance to support the content that they watch and enjoy from progressive creators. Because yes, every single like, comment, sub, dono, everything, it all counts. It all makes a difference. So many people on the left, especially compared to the right, are very lax when it comes to engagement. I'd say this stream, I would guess, has had 1,000 people come through it so far, and probably less than 10% of them hit the like button. If you look at equivalent sized conservative streams on YouTube right now, their engagement rate is way higher. And for that reason, they grow to magnitudes the size mine or several other progressive channels you enjoy are, several times faster, you know? Who remembers that channel, The Offensive T-Slur? The trans dude who makes anti-trans content? When I first covered him, he had 4,000 subscribers back in 2020. Now he sits at around 250,000 subscribers. Because the viewers of his content, his fans, and the fans of right-wing content make it a cultural point to trigger the libs by ensuring they engage with their favorite creators and make them successful. When their favorite creator can afford to buy a compound or an underground skate park a la Tim Pool, it triggers the libs, and so they do it even harder. They make it a cultural point to support their creators. And meanwhile, if you have 500,000 subs on the left, this is what you can expect.
Hey everyone, Ian from Innuendo Studios here. Here to let you know that for the time being, Inuendo Studios is taking a break. I'm not sure for how long, and there's a chance it might be permanent. Well, you've seen the title of the video, so that is not...
Keep in mind, by the way, most progressive content creators such as myself, and I'm pretty sure Inuendo Studios as well, don't take sponsorships. I've taken one sponsorship ever, and it was because they're the one company that offered to send me a free sample of the product without even agreeing to the sponsorship before I accept. And I like the product, and so I took the sponsorship, and I don't regret it. People seem to like the product as well. It's the coldest water bottle. I still have mine too. It's very good. Anyway, though, like, we don't generally take sponsorships, and if you watch YouTube often, you'll see how often YouTubers do take sponsorships. Like, large portions of the video are dedicated to some random product, oftentimes some bullshit scam mobile game. We don't do that most of the time. You could argue we should, but trust me, the broader online left would not let us get away with it, and we would take a much bigger hit to our viability as creators in the long run if we did take sponsorships. Fundamentally, we have to rely on fan support in order to not come off as disingenuous in what we stand for. We are shooting ourselves in the foot when we take easy opportunities to become more financially stable and successful, because to an extent, there is a cultural expectation in the online left that if you're a progressive, you're not exactly rolling in the money, you're not taking easy money payoffs that might be somewhat principally against what you stand for. And I think that's a good thing. But the one way that we do get our support, even if it's for free, is through engagement from the audience. And this is to you and the people who watch, and not just applying to me. You need to like, comment, and subscribe and engage with the creators you enjoy. Go to this video and drop support. It can't hurt.
Not hyperbole. It's not strictly speaking true. Like, bankruptcy is only one of several options.
That's true. Tanky YouTubers do take sponsorships. Like, I think I saw, like, on Twitter that, like, Denims is sponsored by, like, Raid Shadow Legends. So, like, yeah, no, Tanky... Like, the tanky sphere of YouTubers do take sponsorships, but they get away with that kind of thing. Like, if you're really on the more, principle part of the left, let's be real, there's an expectation that you're not taking the popular YouTube sponsors because they keep getting outed as scams. Let's be real.
Right now, but it is a very real and likely possibility. I've been saying that doing this job is making ends meet for a while, and it has, in the sense that most months I end with my bank account at least nominally in the positive. Not all, but most.
Real as fuck.
But if making ends meet is supposed to entail things like being able to settle up your credit card debt or settle up personal loans you take from friends and loved ones, or being able to pay the 30% in taxes that freelancers own every April. Taking a full account, I have been running this channel at a loss for 7 years. And between back taxes I owe the government, a maxed out credit card that is in collections, and money I owe to a few people who've bailed me out, I have total accumulated debt that is pushing $100,000.
This may sound insane for a channel with 500,000 subscribers plus on YouTube, but keep in mind, this guy uploaded once every 2 months, once a month, and that sounds like, oh, well, he's just lazy. You should just upload more. We've watched his videos before. These are 40-minute long, animated, well put together videos that, like, fundamentally, this type of content has to be supported by its audience ruthlessly to survive. ContraPoints and Philosophy Tube, these creators who make really good, well put together content that sometimes takes a year to make at the level of quality that's expected. These creators are held up by their Patreons because YouTube ad revenue, even on a video that pulls 10 million views, if you upload once a year, 10 million views won't do it on one video. YouTube, even with, like, when a video does well, past a certain point, ad space stops being valuable on a single video. 50 videos that accumulate to 10 million views, more often than not, will make you on YouTube more money than one video with 10 million views. Different videos have different CPMs, meaning that, like, per view, how much money do you make? Or per click, how much money do you make? Different videos will get different CPMs. So the more videos you upload in a period of time, the more CPMs that you are essentially rolling the dice for. And those videos might do a variable different performance levels. You know, you can't control how well the videos do, but a video that gets 5,000 views as opposed to 25,000 might have a CPM that's 8 times higher than a video with 25,000 views. And it might just mog the video with 25,000 views in ad revenue off of a fraction of the viewership. YouTube really is that weird. And you really can't predict your income when it comes to ad revenue, I should say, to that level of certainty. It really is hinged. The only predictor you have is upload frequency. Like if you upload frequently, that is really the only thing you can do that guarantees an increase in success. There's no security. Hell, I could wake up tomorrow to my channel being deleted, and if that happens, mind you, there is no recourse to get it back from YouTube. And it could just be a mistake behind the scenes on the system. I'd basically be cooked. I'd just have to make a new channel and hope that enough of you guys follow me to the new channel that we can start over. But yeah, like that's how brutal it is out here.
And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at managing money. There wasn't a life I could have been living these past 7 years where I would have earned $100,000 more than I did. So backers on Patreon already know about this. When I told them,
I'd say on the like liberal estimate end, I'd say the most he ever made in a year was probably like around the rise of breadtube era, like when breadtube was really getting big. And I think he probably made like 200K maybe in his best year, but more often than not, probably like barely scrapes 6 figures, which sounds like a lot, but ever since breadtube's rise has also correlated directly with Trump just nuking the economy, COVID happening, and then Trump getting reelected and nuking the economy again. So there's not really been a breadtube, as it used to be called, or a left tube, whatever you want to call it, in a time where the economy has been stable enough that like even a low 6-figure income in certain areas is enough to like break even comfortably. You know what I mean? Like the fact that we're in America where now 6-figure income isn't necessarily that stable in a lot of parts of the country, I think speaks volumes. Could he have been better with his money? I'm sure. There's probably stuff we don't know. He's implying there's stuff we don't know, but like still 500,000 sub YouTuber. I can tell you that he's not making anywhere near as much as you think he is. No progressive YouTuber besides Hassan or that like sphere that orbits Hassan is. Maybe Vosh. Vosh is the one exception outside the Hassan orbit that's making money right now. Obviously, you've got your big channels like Brian Taylor Cohen and Fair and Balanced and stuff, but that's like borderline mainstream news now because mainstream news is online.
It was framed as, you know, I'm going to probably do some kind of fundraiser or do a Patreon relaunch. There's a bunch of stuff I've been doing over on Patreon that I still hadn't even like announced here on YouTube yet. But I just can't take it anymore. This is just a lot of strain to put on me and to put on my family. And I've felt for a long time that like I'm on the verge of, you know, kind of like making it. Like I've been dancing around the periphery for a while, you know, back in 2020, right before COVID happened, you know.
Oh yeah, I was right.
The numbers were really doing good. The Patreon was really solid. I was making more money than I'd ever made, and it really seemed like it was going to keep heading that way, and then they just started to dip.
Progressive content has been on a steady decline since 2020, and yet through that time, Hassan's fan base grew as the rest of the left shrunk. And it makes me wonder how much of the online left was sort of absorbed by Hassan culturally and just exists in Hassan's chat. How much of it got absorbed over back to Tumblr over the years when Tumblr kind of, like, I think unbanned porn was a big thing they did. How much of the online left now is just living on Tumblr? They've left Twitter and YouTube because of how awful it's gotten. And now, as much as I hate to say it, if things don't change soon, there's a good chance that in the coming year plus, maybe 1 or 2 years at the most, that the only progressive content creators you're going to have to watch when you log on to YouTube that are like dedicated leftist creators are Vosh, Hassan, and if you want to stretch the definition, Destiny. Like obviously you've got your Brian Taylor Cohen and stuff, but if we're talking like funny commentator, like lefty breadtube guys, that's the road we're on right now. And as much as I'd like to say it's because of YouTube, yeah, the algorithms are unfriendly, but also look at the rates of engagement on these channels that you enjoy. And think about how often you yourself don't engage with these channels by leaving likes and comments. I hate to say it, but if you're one of those people, you're part of the problem. Channels on, or any content online, grows in the algorithm based on the rate of engagement to the viewer count of that content. Let's say you post a tweet or a video or any form of post. 99% of internet algorithms have it set such that that post will be sent out to a random audience of people that are likely, based on some keywords, to have an interest in the post. Maybe it's like 50 people end up seeing it initially. Based on how many of those 50 people, let's say, clicked on one of my videos, how many of those people then decide to comment and leave a like on the video determines how many more impressions, as they're called, meaning how many more people get recommended the post to see it and then engage with it further. And the percentage of people that see the post and decide to hit like and or comment means it gets more people to see it. And if those more people then continue to like and comment, it creates a snowball effect that leads to, as we all know, a viral video. No viral video just blows up overnight, unless it comes from a channel with a large following already, or it's like a really special case scenario. It usually starts by getting a couple hundred or a few thousand views in a day or two, but the video itself is so exceptional, it gets so much engagement, likes, comments, saves, favorites, shares, all those things, that the YouTube algorithm starts shilling it to everybody. And if it's appealing enough, next thing you know, it's got 1 million+ views. So the right is pulling millions of views without trying. This is the state of the left's largest creators, you could argue. Like Inuendo Studios, I'd consider, especially a few years ago, one of the left's largest creators. We're in a bad spot right now, guys. Like, no, I don't know how things are gonna go with the future of this country if this is where sentiment is, at least online. And politics seems to exist online these days, so it's not a good sign.
And it's never really recovered. You know, once I hurt my back and I couldn't work for a while, and life just got more expensive. It's really seemed like, especially with joining Nebula and everything, it keeps feeling like if I could just hang on a little longer, I get it cracked. And I'd become one of those like fully self-sustained people, and maybe I would, maybe if I could hold on a little longer, I would, but I can't keep struggling in the meantime. So
I'm going to open up about this, and I'm almost certain this is also a factor for him as well. I'm going to make an analogy here really quick. I want you to imagine that your job is cleaning up trash on the highway, right? Like you really are passionate about keeping the environment clean, and you know that a lot of people litter on the highway. So your job is to clean up trash along the highway. And you get paid $5 an hour to do this, right? And you are just doing back-breaking labor in order to do something good for the world. It's not like, yeah, the money's not great. You hope that one day you can make more and live a little more comfortably. But what really matters to you is that you're making something, and maybe it could be more one day, but it's off of something you care about. It is something you are expressing a moral good that you stand by in your line of work, and that matters to you. That is a special thing to you. And then every day you see dudes in multi-$100,000 supercars wearing $1,000 outfits, screaming racial slurs at their car windows as they throw trash at you. And you deal with that every day for years and years and years as you hold on to hope that one day you're going to maybe get a fraction of the success they have. So when they do that, maybe it hurts a little less that they're going home to a much more lavish lifestyle than you could ever hope to experience. Maybe you're even just outright struggling to get by, more likely than not. And meanwhile, these infinitely worse people are making way more money off of expressing their lack of moral character. Try your best to put yourself in those shoes, and that's really the best way I can describe how I feel personally when I see the average right-wing grifter like the Quartering. The Quartering makes, I believe, like 6 figures a month. It recently came out as, maybe less so now, but like a year or two ago, it leaked that he was making 6 figures a month. Like, that's life-changing money, and far from what I think most online leftist figures could make in a lifetime. And when that's the reality, when you're like struggling to get by in comparison to that, and what they stand for is objectively evil, it feels like it's just evil being rewarded every day. And it's just this demotivating factor that I can only imagine has severely impacted his mental health. You know, especially when his job is to cover the successful, wealthy, well-off people who are destroying the world and are getting paid to destroy the world. And the people who claim to be against it are not really rallying in support to stop it, or rallying in support of content calling it out. And it's a very demotivating thing. It's depressing. It's like Denethor in Lord of the Rings when he's like the steward of Gondor, when like Sauron's army is invading. Denethor is just like looking out and it looks hopeless, and he yells, "Abandon your posts! Flee! Flee for your lives!" Great line delivery. He cooked. But it gives me that feeling, you know, it reminds me of that scene.
For now, we're going to call this a sabbatical. I'm not officially quitting. It's possible I will find part-time work, which means that, you know, if it's enough hours that it brings in decent money that I could supplement Patreon and AdSense with, I could keep doing this part-time, which is, you know, when I started out, that's what it was. It was a thing I was juggling with freelancing in school, so maybe that's an option. I have to see what's out there. But at least for the next month or so, kind of my mindset is to live my life with the question, what if I wasn't a YouTuber? Like, how would I spend my time? Where would I put my energies? What would I work on if you didn't always have that gnawing feeling of like, I should be working on?
Oh, I should also mention, by the way, it's not just that, by the way, the factor that I mentioned before of like awful people making bank off of being awful people online. It's also the fact that like one of the right's biggest attacks lately has been the fact that being a progressive creator is not financially, like, it doesn't make a lot of money. And they'll tongue-in-cheek call you a grifter while pointing that out, which is hilarious. But also, they gloat about it, right? Like, they gloat, and they even use it as an argument for why the left is wrong, right? Like, if the left was making good points and was correct, then people would watch their content and support what they have to say. But look how little support they get. Look how little reach they have. Clearly, they have nothing of value to say. And that rhetoric is actually very successful. We know nowadays the internet is very prone to the bandwagon effect. So the running success of conservative cultural rhetoric just kind of picks people up like a lint roller, you know? Like if people are lint, that rhetoric and that culture is a lint roller, and it's just kind of gathering up more and more and more.
On my video, you know, what would my home look like? What would my social life look like? How would my free time look? Free time is a concept. We're just gonna see what that's like. So maybe part-time work, maybe the channel sticks around in some capacity, you know. Maybe I'll do something that leaves me energy on the weekends. Maybe I'll collaborate with people. But right now I'm not promising anything. I've been doing this for 11 years. And it's weird to say that it is the most financially stable I've ever been, because when I started this job, I was only a year or two off of food stamps, you know. But it's just never made the kind of income that lets you trust that you're going to be able to cover your expenses 3-4 months from now. You know, I have no...
What I've really noticed is that people online in general, and the left is not immune to this, seem to pull their money around already successful people. And I feel like that's kind of like the donation effect, right? Using my stream and like Vosh as an example. If you want to get the attention of Vosh and get him to read your message and acknowledge your existence, a common thing among stream viewers, you know, kind of parasocial in nature, you got to donate more likely than not. You got to sub or like donate or give him money in some way, right? Because he's already big and successful and the chat's so loaded with people, which means inherently everybody watching has to donate to stand out. You know what I mean? Like it leads to this high level of incentive to support, but you have to already be inherently well off to have that incentive to support even more. And so when you're a smaller creator who can easily be gotten the attention of just from a chat message, people are less likely to drop their financial support to like leave a little dono message. And so, you know, smaller creators get less donations, not just because they have less viewers, because those viewers they have are less likely to need to donate or feel they need to donate to get like attention from the streamer, right? Which is generally like the trade-off in most of those like arrangements, I think. But yeah, I've noticed that as well.
No savings. There's nothing for retirement. I owe more than I make in a year. Outside of a few big names, probably almost all of your favorite YouTubers are doing worse than you think. So for the time being,
that's true.
I'm gonna leave the Patreon turned on at least for like a few months. There's a bunch of stuff.
I think here's where I'm going to cut it off so you guys can go watch the video yourselves and give it like support on your own. But like just to speak volumes about how right he is. I mean, look how dead the chat has been for the last bit of this segment, you know? Like we're literally having a conversation about how lack of engagement with progressive content is what's kind of killing the online left. And like chatters are listening to this and like, yeah, but that doesn't count me. Like I don't need to say anything. You know, I think I'm not calling you guys out. I'm just using it as a point of example. You know, like even right now, most of the chat is doing exactly that. You know, just very quiet, just kind of lurking. You know, trying to exist in the background and just listen to content. It's 3 a.m. Zan. I'm not saying that. I'm not calling you out. I'm just using it as a point of example. You know, progressive viewers tend to be lurkers and they just kind of hang out. You know, I feel like we got to make a culture out of being more just locked in and active. I've even been kind of guilty of this myself, I'm not gonna lie. I've watched a lot less political content lately, and because of that, I've not been engaging, liking, and commenting on my favorite political content creators as much lately. And I remember when I was younger, maybe some of you guys can relate to this, I worry that I'm causing this problem in some of my favorite creators all the time. It's one of my biggest anxieties. You ever watch a creator, you really like them, and you love their content, but like you're not always in the mood to watch the content they make, right? Like maybe they make Rust videos. Rust is my favorite video game. But some days I wake up and I'm not in the mood to watch Rust videos where guys like killing dudes on Rust and they're like screaming in response. Some days I'm super into that and I want to binge those videos from morning to sunset, and some days I'm just not down to watch that particular content. I worry, and this has happened before, where like I take a hiatus from watching that particular content, maybe for a few months, maybe for a year, maybe 2. And I tune into that content after getting the twinge to watch it again, to that channel or whatever, and I go to check it out, and I find out, oh, they haven't uploaded in 6 months. They basically quit after their channel slowly died off. I guess I wasn't the only one that just took a little break from watching the content, you know? And I find out that like I kind of became a little bit, what's a good way of putting this? This happened with some of my favorite creators, by the way, such as Fods and Skitscape, great Minecraft YouTubers from back in the day, where like I got really complacent with the idea that I could always just check out their content and tune in and watch whatever they're up to at any time, right? I just became comfortable with the idea that they're just going to continue growing, right? Like obviously, like they're there, right? And so I would just occasionally take a couple months breaks from watching their videos and then tune back in and binge watch their stuff. And then eventually I tuned in and saw that they were on a hiatus. And I was like, damn, like I guess they're not. And it slowly led to them essentially no longer being active on YouTube. And these were like my favorite creators. And I realized then, like, and this happened with the Creatures and many others, it's like, damn, you know, it's easy to get complacent thinking that like a realm or community of content will be there forever. Think like the old Minecraft community. It's like communities on the internet are fleeting at times, and it's easy to blink and see it be gone. From Yasuke Vermeulen in chat says, have you considered making better content? Must be the viewer's fault. You are clearly a conservative in chat to Concern Troll. And I'll actually use you as an argument before we finish up the segment. Like I said before, you will deal with people like these constantly anytime you try to acknowledge this. The right doesn't want there to be a conversation on the left about the fact that, like, algorithms objectively work the way they do, and if the left is going to reach a broader audience, then like the audiences have to engage. They want to try and turn your audience against you when you have that conversation by saying, oh, well, why don't you just make better content? Doesn't matter how good the content is. Like, algorithms work the way they do. And sure, I could make better content, but that's a given. You know, you try to make your last video better than you try to make your next video better than the last video every time. That's just a given in content creation, but like that we're talking about a conversation separate from that fact. I think most people who watch Inuendo Studios, the 500,000 sub YouTuber, I think they like his content. I think he makes good content personally, and I'm sad he's going. So yeah, I don't think that Inuendo Studios, for example, needed to just make better content. So yeah, anyway, you're always going to get the people that want to like concern troll you into not having this conversation because, yeah, the internet's a little cagey about it, but it is what it is. Bro came in to mass flag with his 5 ults. Maybe, who knows? Anyway, though, if you enjoyed this segment and you want to support the channel, don't just support my channel, mind you, but all your favorite progressive channels. Make it a habit to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications. It's totally free, and it really actually does help, so I really do appreciate it. And of course, if you want to follow my social medias and see stuff from me on other platforms, you can. I've even got a fan Discord where I do not one-on-one, but like I get on the ground with the community. And I host gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights as well. So definitely tune in, check it out. It's very fun to hang out in the Discord. You don't want to miss it. And on top of that, if you want to see more from me in the future and support the channel, help me keep a roof above my head and lights on in the Xanderhall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xanderhall merch through the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.